Welcome to this explainer. So usually when we hear about the global economy, it's all presented in these really dry, dusty terms, right? Endless spreadsheets, stock market tickers, just incredibly boring decimal points. But today, we're going way beyond the basic GDP. We're tossing out those spreadsheets and we're looking at what actually runs the world, diving right into the fascinating, quirky, and sometimes downright absurd realities of the world's top economies.
I mean, seriously, what do llamas, Red Bull, and the world's largest simple desert actually have to do with the global economy? Well, today, we're looking past those standard, boring GDP figures to uncover the surprising economic truths of nations worldwide. We're going to explore everything from bizarre national niches to staggering concentrations of wealth that show us just how deeply interconnected our globe really is. Section 1. The Big Four Powerhouses.
Okay, so according to the United Nations, who generally have a pretty good handle on this whole country business, there are roughly 186 to 192 countries in the world right now. But one of them absolutely towers above the rest. The United States of America is by far the biggest economy, boasting a massive, mind-boggling $21.3 trillion annual GDP. It quite literally holds the title of the single most wealthy and powerful state in human history.
To really wrap your head around that immense wealth, check this out. The U.S. sports industry alone clocks in at a $75 billion annual figure. Just that single entertainment industry is larger than the entire GDPs of Lebanon, Uruguay, and Luxembourg combined. There's simply no way to overstate that. It's a completely different scale of wealth, dwarfing entire sovereign nations with just ticket sales and broadcasting rights.
Now, hot on the heels of the U.S. is the absolute miracle of the 21st century China. Their rapid industrialization has pulled over 1 billion people out of global poverty. But the sheer physical volume required to pull that off, it's staggering. Get this, to accommodate its expansion, China used more concrete in just a 3-year period than the United States used throughout the entire 20th century. Absolutely mind-blowing.
So, moving past Japan's 30-year economic stagnation, where they've really struggled to compete with new Asian rivals, we hit the EU powerhouse Germany. Sure, they make great cars and they've got the famous autobahns, but what you probably didn't know is that Germany dominates the continent in a much wilder metric. They are the world leader in zoos. They literally possess more zoos than the rest of Europe combined.
Section 2. Resources, Growth, and Complexity.
Let's look at some of the transitioning giants next, because they face some incredibly unique hurdles as they try to modernize. India, for example, has seen this explosive growth that lifted millions from absolute poverty. Yet it's the textbook definition of a transitioning economy, with over half its vast population still working in agriculture. Then you've got Brazil, a country so blessed by incredible natural resources, but deeply, deeply hindered by systemic corruption. And finally, Russia. Despite the immense global attention it commands all the time, its economy is actually surprisingly small, relying almost entirely on just the extraction of raw materials and gathering foreign intelligence data.
Now, this is wild. Look at how Saudi Arabia's immense oil wealth translates into sheer corporate dominance. Back in 2018, Saudi Aramco generated profits that were greater than Apple, Amazon, and Google combined. Let that sink in for a second. We think the digital age gets all the headlines, but massive resource extraction still commands unparalleled, unbelievable capital.
Section 3. Unexpected Global Economic Niches.
Global economics gets pretty weird, pretty quickly, when you dive into some of these oddball economies. Take Spain. Their biggest industries include tourism and manufacturing, so they effectively serve as this economic beta test for Mexico. Mexico, in turn, is basically Spain 2.0. Sitting as the 15th largest economy, though a massive illicit transaction market probably makes it way larger in reality. Then there's Sweden. They are incredibly generous, with donations making up over 1% of their GDP, but they also bizarrely happen to be the largest holder of North Korean sovereign debt. And Peru, their economy runs heavily on tourism, llamas, and, well, tourists looking at llamas.
Then you've got Belgium, home to the largest chocolate market in the world. Economically and culturally, it's essentially Germany light. Actually, it's so close that Belgium's flag is literally just Germany's flag turned sideways. It's a really quirky visual, but it perfectly matches their closely intertwined economic relationship. Okay, think about a product you definitely know. Red Bull. You might be surprised to learn that Thailand, which by the way is the only Southeast Asian country never colonized by Europeans, actually inspired the drink. But it was Austria, the true birthplace of the brand, that formally brought it into the global market, after seeing its massive local popularity over in Thailand. And today, it's the best-selling energy drink in the entire world.
Meanwhile, over in Europe, Ireland has successfully positioned itself as the intellectual property capital of the world. Because it holds the rights to so much of this valuable global IP, Ireland effectively operates as this giant, world's largest private bank account for global markets, quietly housing immense wealth for massive tech and pharmaceutical companies.
If we jump over to Asia, we see this fascinating spectrum of financial services that pretty much power our everyday lives. Singapore handles the high-end finance, complete with incredibly expensive cars and the largest airline-to-population ratio. Malaysia sits perfectly in the middle, offering really robust mid-range financial services. But if you have ever filled out an extensive bureaucratic piece of financial paperwork, there is an incredibly good chance it went straight to Manila in the Philippines, which is the world's ultimate hub for low-range financial and bureaucratic processing.
Section 4. Triumphs and Warning Signs.
When we look closely at European economic extremes, we find the true MVPs on one end. Romania is absolutely killing it as the fastest-growing economy in all of Europe, consistently hitting year-on-year growth of over 6%. The Czech Republic is also bucking the regional trend and growing at unprecedented rates despite all the surrounding uncertainty. But on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have Greece, firmly positioned as the severely underperforming not MVP of the European Union, as they're still wrestling with massive systemic debt.
But we have to look at the severe, objective warning signs out there too. Greater than 4 million. That is the staggering, heartbreaking number of people living on less than $1 a day in South Africa. The wealth there is increasingly hoarded by a secluded, mostly white upper class, making South Africa currently the single most unequal country on planet Earth. It's just a stark reminder that a high national GDP absolutely does not equal shared prosperity.
Similarly, Venezuela stands as this incredibly stark, impartial reminder of economic mismanagement. To put it simply, based on recent data, Venezuela is a glaring, real-time example of exactly what you do not do when you discover oil in your country. It really shows how mismanaging immense natural wealth can lead a once thriving economy directly into collapse and crisis.
Section 5. Lying with economic statistics. Okay, so if you look at the mean data for New Zealand, the standard average, it claims that the average citizen there owns 7 sheep. 7. But if you look at the median data, the average New Zealander actually owns 0 sheep. It's a hilarious, kind of silly example, but it's an absolutely brilliant case study of how mean and median averages are often not the greatest indication of sensible everyday reality on the ground.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, this whole sheep illusion leaves us with a really critical question to ponder. What other statistics are lying to you? The next time you're presented with big, flashy global economic figures, remember to look past the surface and read the data carefully. Thank you so much for joining me. Keep questioning the numbers, and I'll see you in the next explainer.